You started in 2012 to be in Bali to explore this part of the world.
I've been through a huge personal transformation on my spiritual journey.
It's how Bali does things to you to give you things that you would have never had if it didn't give it to you, literally.
People are understanding that they want something a little bit more. They're missing a connection, and what that connection to me is missing the connection to themselves.
Not to just think about it from the aspect of, yeah, it's only internal or it's only external, but rather I am connecting, whether I'm connecting to myself or I'm connecting to a higher power.
You're connected to all these external things. I'm a husband, I'm a mother, I'm a producer, I'm a chef. We have all these external identities, but what you really want is that connection to yourself.
I guess it's quite important to understand for someone who's watching that what is healing.
Healing to me isn't about fixing something that's broken. It's really about wholeness. In most cultures, really quick. Don't talk about that, don't think about that, don't feel that, don't do that, right? Really quick, a big filter on that. We are vibrant human beings. We're here to have human lives.
Now I have trillion question, of course. So, here we are, we start with Jana. First of all, I would like to thank you that you accepted this invitation and to come to speak to the both of us. And I would like also to say how spontaneous was it that I went to a class. I actually, at this day, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And then I decided to go to Yoga Barn. And then I saw soul conversations and I felt, yeah, this is where I want to be. I want to connect on a soul level with people, and especially that I'm new here in Bali. I also had like an idea, a manifestation kind of, that I would love to have a conversation with someone who can explain more about the healing here in Bali and the spirituality. Having the feeling that it's so rich here, and I would like to understand about it more. And then we met, and then I felt, yeah, like very naturally, why shouldn't I ask you, and to start a conversation and to connect it also a bit with the Arabic world. So we are raised on spirituality as well, but different, maybe, or different or similar. This is the thing, but to explore how we can connect the spirituality in the Arabic world with the spirituality here. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yes. Maybe you start with a small check-in. Sure. And I will ask you, and maybe we can also go a bit outside of the time. How are you doing? You can say how I am doing today, how I am doing in this phase of my life. That's up to you. Like, how do you feel this time of your life?
Sure. You have found me at a really great time in my life. I've been through a huge personal transformation on my spiritual journey, really. And I moved back to Bali in January of 2023. And in June of 2023, I had a motorbike accident and I was hit by a car. And that, for the next year, so that would take me to January 2024, I had 4 surgeries. And it's only, I would say, January 2025 that I'm starting to feel like I'm back. I'm not back, you don't go backwards, but I am in this next phase.
Yeah.
And I feel great. I feel physically great. I feel mentally great. I am really happy to be in Bali. I feel really fortunate to live here. And I feel like the world is changing so quickly right now. And I have been trying to find my place in it and what is my role in it. And I don't necessarily have that specific, but I feel like I'm living it, whatever it is. I'm doing what I'm best at doing.
It's how Bali does things to you to give you things that you would have never had if it didn't give it to you, literally.
Yep. Yeah.
You started in 2012 to be in Bali, to start to move from the US to explore this part of the world. Let's try to imagine the time when you came to Bali. What
Yeah.
was the knowledge
Yeah.
that you are having there?
Yeah.
And at the moment,
Yeah.
like what's the
Sure.
and also to allow for someone who's listening to us to understand, okay, Jana now has learned this and this and has this experience, and if I need something in this field, I can come to Jana about it.
Yeah. So when I came, I was deep, deep, deep in my spiritual path. So that wasn't new to me, but not in, like, Bali is Bali Hindu, right? And so it's a mixture. Bali Hindu is different than Indian Hindu, but they still work with the goddesses and gods. And that was completely foreign to me. I grew up Christian, but when I left at 18, that kind of went to the wayside. And I have no desire to say I'm a Hindu, or I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm a priestess, or anything. Like, that's just not who I am. I worked with the Balinese quite a bit for those first few years. And then in 2015, I started to have some really strong energetic experiences. And I knew what that was about. I knew it was Kundalini. I knew that it was working its way up through my system, which I don't know how much you guys know about that. This is kind of getting into more of the Vedic yogic kind of talk when it's about Kundalini, but it's the life force that is at your Muladhara, at the root chakra. And the whole point of yoga and Vedic wisdom is self-realization. And in order for that to happen, the Kundalini has to rise through the body. It's the Shakti meeting the Shiva at the top. And then in one trip back from the US on the plane, I got this thing that I was going to do a water fast. And I was never interested in that, had no desire for that. And then I got back to Bali, and I literally would hear myself saying, I'm going to do a water fast in September. And I would kind of see it coming out of my mouth. And I was like, I don't know about that. And I ended up doing a 7-day water fast in September. And when I came out of that, I had a couple days later, I had this huge consciousness shift in my meditation. I can't really even describe it, but all kinds of stuff opened up for me. And so this is part of Kundalini. There has to be a clearing of your system. And so all that fasting that I had done intuitively, which I didn't know was leading towards this, was leading me towards this process. And then I just got the nudge, it's time to go back. It's time to go back. Because more and more people are, for the lack of a better term, awakening. More and more people are having this kind of desire to, they want something, they know there's something else. We're not just robots, right? There's something else there. They want this connection. And because of my experience being a Westerner, but living in Asia and quite in-depthly in Asia, I can bridge that for a lot of people, you know, people looking for the Westerners where I'm an American. It's about me. I can do this by myself, you know, and Easterners who are very much group. They're group think. They do.
Communal.
Yeah, communion,
Yeah.
definitely community. And so they are kind of moving to the West because they're finding the financial independence and they can be on their own. And Westerners are moving to the East because we want a place of belonging. We want to be part of something. And so there's this bridge that's happening. And being here in Bali allows me, I don't have to go to everyone. Everybody comes here. And I'm fortunate enough to work at a place where people just come. And for me, it's such a personal journey. And this comes from my teacher in India. It's called Swatantra. Swa meaning essence of self, and Tantra meaning method. And so it's finding your method. There's no dogma, there's no renunciation. It's based on your genetics, your culture, your interests, your physical body, your mindset, and what works for you. So when people come to see me now, I have a lot of knowledge, or little knowledge about a lot of things. I studied shamanism and Buddhism and a lot of metaphysics, meditation, a little curanderismo, which is Mexican healing, Kahuna, which is Hawaiian healing. I'm a Reiki master, which is Japanese. I don't really follow that. And this is the thing, I don't follow anything at this point. When I do hands-on healing, it's really intuitive. It's just intuitive. I learned a lot, and it was a good way for me to start because that's how my brain worked. I needed that. But now it's just whatever feels right for me and whatever feels right for the person sitting in front of me.
Now I have trillion question. Of course, you know. And I just want to. Like,
I'm trying to hold the questions
I'm
as much as I
I'm
can.
trying. But to go to the like, or to try to summarize a bit, I heard the word self-realization, and that, for example, if I feel lost, like, and I'm trying to understand now, me as a person who's going every day to work, I'm working still in the corporate, or
Yeah.
it's my passion there, and I'm not having a lot of awareness onto this world, for
Yeah.
example. Just to describe what could be some of the feelings or the issues that
Yeah.
I'm having, and so accordingly I feel okay, I want to do self-realization with Jana.
Well, self-realization is, again, this is just my understanding of it. Self-realization is kind of the ultimate goal. It's the complete liberation from the suffering of our human mind. It's the living in a state of oneness. Very few people reach that level. Very few people. I think what's happening in the world right now is, I would use the word awakening. People are understanding that they want something a little bit more. They're missing a connection, and what that connection to me is missing the connection to themselves. You're connected to all these external things. I'm a husband, I'm a mother, I'm a producer, I'm a chef. You know, we have all these external identities, but what you really want is that connection to yourself, that inner standing of yourself. And so to me, that's where I try to direct people. I'm trained in psychospiritual counseling. So that means that I have a foundation in psychology. And then I have these kind of wisdom traditions and healing methods to be able to look at mental health from a fuller picture. And so on this spiritual journey, in my opinion, you have to do the psychological piece of it as well. You cannot bypass it. And a lot of people want to bypass it. They just want to go into that bliss. But for me, in order to actually truly transcend the body and your mind, you have to embody it. And this is why my path of Tantra, and I will be very clear, this is traditional Tantra. This is not Neo-Tantra, which is basically around sacred sexuality.
What is Tantra to begin with?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we hear the
Yeah.
word Tantra all the time, like social
Yeah.
media, Tantra. What is
it's-
Tantra?
And it's huge, and I'm not a scholar in it, so I can, again, only speak of it from my...
You said earlier, Tantra means method.
Yeah.
I remember that from
Yeah.
your introduction. But what is that Tantra that
Yeah.
we see on the internet?
So, yeah, so there's two different kinds. Again, the Neo-Tantra, which is what you see really mainstream right now, and it's really based around sexuality. And then there's the traditional Tantra, which is really just simplicity-wise, one, everything is sacred. Everything is divine. There's nothing that is not part of God or part of Source. Everything is energy. There's cause and effect. You do this, this happens, and it's not personal. Does that? I mean, Tantra is huge. That's only just a little tiny piece of it, but that's how I work with it, and that everything is energy. I can't remember how we got onto that original.
No,
Topic.
I think while we go, there are a lot of terms.
Oh,
we have to
that-
stop.
that. Why are we going? Why are we going?
No,
Yeah.
because yeah, as Midu said, Tantra, for example, is a vocab that a lot of people don't understand what's
Yeah.
this, and
Like, I have a couple of friends today. Since I said I'm going to Bali, they're like, okay, don't forget to bring some oil for Tantra. And I'm like, guys, come on. Come on.
That's the Neo-Tantra.
Yeah.
And that's whatever.
I think that's
their
not
game.
a neo. That's
That's-
just like yeah, like it's a
Yeah.
joke or sarcasm
Yeah.
from people in
Yes.
Egypt who maybe do not have a lot of knowledge about this
Well, and it's been
word.
exploited
Yeah,
in that way.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe let's try to shift again to another vocabulary that I feel I hear it a lot, I see it a lot, which is healing. Not to go into a trend somehow where I feel that someone have sold for me that, by the way, you need to be healed
Yeah.
somehow. And then I feel like we have this um, in social media as well, a lot of videos and things about, okay, you're in a healing process, you have to take pauses. I mean, I agree also with what is being said in this realm, but at the same time, I have doubts if someone could be using this in a negative sense or something
Absolutely.
like this so that they earn money or they
Yeah.
become popular or whatever.
Absolutely.
So I guess it's quite important to understand for someone who's watching that what is healing, like
Yeah.
in its essence. Specifically, I guess that you had knowledge about it from the Western side and have had now knowledge about it from the East
Yeah.
philosophy. So what is healing?
Yeah. So healing to me isn't about fixing something that's broken. It's really about wholeness, about becoming whole and acceptance of the whole being, of who you are, of all of your pieces. I think sometimes we get so caught up in healing that and wounding, that's a big thing right now, all of your wounding. And yes, there is a lot of it. But when we come from that place, we come from such a place of lacking. And we are vibrant human beings, you know? And perfection isn't the goal. We're here to have human lives. And so I sometimes don't like to just always talk about we need to heal this, we need to heal this. You want to be whole. And in that process of being whole, we have to look into some of the things that we have to connect the dots. Psychologically, patterns that are set up because of everybody has a childhood. Even if your parents were great or whatever, you have a childhood. There's history there. And there are things that have happened. And when you start to connect the dots of, oh, that happened, and then, oh, of course, I think this way, of course they do this, right? When you start to connect the dots, then you understand that it's learned behavior, and then you can unlearn it, or you can learn new behavior, and that's healing, right? So that's in the mind. But the body, healing to me, being whole, is body, mind, and soul. It's not just the mind. And so in the yogic system, we work with the 7 chakras. It comes up into the Swadhisthana, the sacral chakra. And there's kind of 3, this is where the east and west kind of meet. There's 3 main channels of expression. There's many, but 3 main ones: sexuality, spirituality, and creativity. And so as it comes up, in most cultures, sexuality really quick. Don't talk about that. Don't think about that. Don't feel that. Don't do that, right? Really quick, a big, big filter on there. Creativity, at first, people are really, yeah, oh, little kid, you should play. But then at a certain point, it's like, you're 12 years old, you should not be playing like that, right? You should be reading. Or you're 16, you should be working, you should not be doing that. So your creativity really gets filtered. And spirituality, oftentimes you're born into a religion, or it's not spoken about at all, or there's some mix, just depending on how you're brought up. So that energy comes up through those big filters, comes here into the Manipura, the solar plexus, and this is kind of teenage years, right? Like, I'm a boy, I can do this, or I'm 17, I can do this. And then the rules come in. You're a girl, you can't do that. You're only 15, you can't do that. Or you're 14, you should be doing this. So all of these rules and regulations come on. That energy continues to move up. It comes up here into the anahata, into the heart. And now it's relationships, right? It's friends and lovers and business and all of these roles that you take on. And then society comes in. You're a son, you need to take care of your parents. You're a wife, you need to take care of your children. You're a boss, you need to do this. So all of this conditioning come in. So this energy that began as source consciousness, which is unlimited potential, unlimited creativity, like it's created everything. And by the time it comes here up into the throat where it should be like, this is who I am in all my glory, it kind of ekes out like, this is who I am after everybody else's opinions and rules and regulations. So healing to me is clearing those filters, clearing those filters. So that truth of who you are has the space to come up. That life force isn't unique. It's what we all come from. But what makes it unique is it's come through this body, through this experience, through everything that you've experienced. This is why you are here. You are this source expression in this exact form. No other form like that.
I want to touch point on this religion part now. When we speak about Hinduism, Buddhism, when we speak about energy, when we speak about healing, this is often related in my part of the world to something that's out of the norm or something that's opposite to religion. Let's call it a taboo. And Jana today is doing what she is doing in a super contemporary way. You are personalizing this experience to the needs of your, I would not like to call them clients, but just for the understanding, we will call them clients in this conversation. So to the needs of your client. So you have Midu, he is a Muslim individual who thinks of healing, yoga, meditating as something that might be opposing his beliefs and his religion. What would we do with Midu?
Yeah. So that's a really great topic, and I've had to look into it because there's also Christian sects that say don't get into yoga. And when I looked into it, what it seemed like is because in yoga or in the Vedic tradition, there's no separation between you and God. In religions like Islam and Christianity and Judaism, it is separate. And so in yoga, to say that I am God, that's the sin of it, right?
True.
And yet, to me, it's because of the idea that there's this personification of a God. And when I'm talking about God or source consciousness, it's a consciousness. There's no personification to it. We're not worshiping anything. Yoga is not a religion. Spirituality and religion are separate, but they don't have to be exclusive. I'm not telling anyone to worship anything. I'm asking them to be more in touch with themselves.
And I guess also, I mean, like, yeah, from one side, this part about, okay, let's think from within, and that we can judge based on our feelings and have a connection within ourselves, but not so much in the external. For me, that translates a bit also onto a higher connection with the higher self. So, however we can call this higher self, because the
Right.
higher self can be called in different religions differently,
Yeah.
like Allah, God, Shiva. So, there are different ways of how I can say on a vocabulary level, just on a vocabulary level,
Yeah.
okay, this is named this. And maybe that's what makes them different, but it actually, for me, it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's just a connection that you are building up, and maybe when you have a more you are putting more energy into this connection, you're feeling more connected, then you are able to judge your decisions better, and not to just think about it from the aspect of, yeah, it's only internal or it's only external, but rather I am connecting, whether I'm connecting to myself or I'm connecting to a higher power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think this leads people to a question a lot about, how do I know if it's my intuition or my ego that's telling me to do something? And for me, intuition, or for me, ego almost always has a lot of emotion behind it. You have to do this. If we don't do this now, it's never going to happen. If it's a big, strong reaction like that, to me, that's ego. Intuition is often subtle. If you don't catch it the first time, it'll come around again. It'll just kind of knock at your door every now and then until you actually take that decision.
Good actually a bit to understand this, because I guess we are moved a lot with the ego.
Yeah.
Like a lot. And sometimes it is being worded as you are being persistent, right? Because you have to try once, you have to try two times, because then that's I think the marketing around how to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, because and then you hear the stories of like, yeah, I tried once and twice, but yeah, it's still confusing for me. Is this
Yeah.
intuition or is this my ego is telling? Is
And
like
sometimes they can be on the
Yeah.
same page,
Mm.
definitely. If your intuition matches what and your ego keeps wanting you to do something. But it's like if you have a really strong emotional reaction to something, that's almost always like an inner child piece or an emotional piece. And that doesn't mean that you can't, like, if you really want to do something, you can still go for it. But if it's this kind of do or die thing, I would take a step back and just see, okay, what happens? Because remember, you're in a co-creation as well, right? So you take your practical steps that you can take to achieve this. And then at a certain point, okay, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. There is a surrender at the end of it. And what happens is we know, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But if you can co-create, you do what you can do in your ability, right? You want a new job, so you write a resume, you make follow-up calls, you know, you network, you do everything, but then at a certain point, it's up to you. It's up to whatever is in my highest good.
I want to connect a bit energy with decisions.
Energy flows where attention goes. Is what I'm about to do bringing me closer to the person that I want to be, or is it taking me further away from it?
When I think about balance, I think about work-life balance. I think about how to balance my relationships to make sure that I'm always giving and receiving.
To find balance in your life, first you have to know what actually feels good for you. If you don't have satisfaction in your life, if it's not actually fulfilling for you, then what is the point? Why are you living? To me, spirituality has to be ingrained in your life. It can't be compartmentalized. And when it actually does infuse your whole life, you find that natural balance.
I would say just briefly, very briefly, I'm very proud that I have had the opportunity to be brought up in this region. How I built my values around how my family have shown me what Islam is.
I honestly feel very comfortable in this setting. I felt through the conversation that it's more than just a conversation I'm having.